my wife shouted before leaving to her ex's party. I'm going alone to the party because you don't know how to have fun. I calmly smiled and replied, great. I hope he has a place for you, because you're not coming back here. It was midnight in Madrid, and the echo of Carmen's slamming door still resonated in my head. I am going to Diego's party, she shouted, adjusting her purse before disappearing. Her words cut like a knife. Since you do not know how to have fun, I will do it without you. Diego, her ex, the guy who never stopped being a shadow in our marriage. There was always something in his laugh, in the way she mentioned his name, that got on my nerves. But this time it was not just a casual comment. This was different. I stood paralyzed in the living room with my heart pounding. I wanted to scream, to stop her, but what for? If she wanted to humiliate me, I was not going to let her. Not this time. I sat down looking at my phone. A message from my friend Pablo. Hey Miguel, are you okay? I heard Carmen went to Diego's. The news was already spreading. Great. All of Madrid would know that my wife was at her ex's house laughing, dancing, while I was here, alone like an idiot. The hours passed, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Nothing, not a message, not a call. I got up, walked around the house looking for something to calm me down. Then I saw it, her wedding ring there on the small table, as if it were any other ornament. I let it fall into my hand, feeling its weight. It was not forgotten, it was a statement. Carmen had chosen. I could not stay still. At 3:30, I took the car keys and drove to Diego's apartment in Chimberry. The music was booming from the street, lights flashing through the windows. I parked a few meters away and waited. I do not know what I was looking for. Maybe I wanted to see her come out regretful, running home, but then I saw her. Carmen at the door laughing with her arms around Diego's neck. Their bodies so close, so comfortable as if I had never existed. My chest tightened, but it was not pain, it was clarity. The woman I married was no longer there. I drove back on autopilot, the image of them engraved in my mind. I was not going to be the husband who waits, who forgives, who swallows his pride. Not this time. When I got home, I went straight to the closet. I took out a suitcase and started filling it with her things, clothes, shoes, everything she loved so much. Then the photos of our wedding, those framed promises went into a bag. Every frame I took off the wall was one less weight on my soul. At 5 in the morning, the house was transformed, empty of her. The suitcase waited by the door and I, sitting on the sofa, waited for her return. Not to talk, not to fight, to end this. When I heard the engine of a car in the driveway, my pulse quickened. The door opened, and there was Carmen, stumbling a little with her makeup smudged. Her eyes fixed on the suitcase, and her face changed. What is this, Miguel? She said with a nervous laugh, as if she could undo everything with a joke. They are your things, I replied, my voice cold. You are leaving. She stood motionless as if she did not understand. Are you crazy? I just went to a party. I looked at her. Calm, but firm. I saw you, Carmen, with Diego. It was not just a party. Her face turned pale. She tried to deny it, but her eyes betrayed her. Nothing happened, she murmured, but her voice trembled. You took off your ring, I said, pointing to the table. That was not an accident. The silence between us was dense, as if the air was heavy. You cannot kick me out like this, she said, her voice now higher, almost desperate. We have been together for years. You ended that last night, I replied. Now I am just following your example. Carmen took a step back, looking at the suitcase as if it were a sentence. This is ridiculous, she stammered, but there was no strength in her words. Goodbye, Carmen, I said, opening the door. She hesitated, expecting me to give in, but I did not. When she left, I closed the door with a click that sounded like the end of a chapter. I stood there alone, feeling the emptiness of the house. But it was not just emptiness, it was freedom. I had finished with the lies, with the doubts. And then my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Miguel, it is Lucia, Diego's girlfriend. We need to talk. My heart skipped a beat. What more could come now? Lucia's message hit me like a lightning bolt. What more could come now? I thought, with the phone trembling in my hand. I replied quickly. Where are you? Her answer came in seconds in my apartment in Malesana. Come now, please. Without thinking twice, I took the keys and left. The city was waking up, but I felt like my world was collapsing. The journey to Lucia's apartment was a blur. My head would not stop spinning. Carmen in Diego's arms, her ring abandoned. And now this. What did Lucia know? Why was she contacting me? When I arrived, I rang the doorbell with my heart in my throat. The door opened, and there was Lucia, with red eyes and her hair pulled back in any old way. Without saying a word, she let me in. We sat in her small living room. The silence was heavy, as if we both feared what was coming. Finally, she broke the ice. Miguel, I am so sorry, she said, her voice trembling. I did not want to get involved, but I cannot stay silent. She took out her phone and slid it towards me. Look at this. I hesitated, but I took the phone. It was a video. The image was blurry at first, but then it focused on Carmen and Diego in a dark corner of a bar laughing, their hands intertwined. Then a kiss. It was not from last night. The date on the screen was from 3 months ago. I felt a knot in my stomach. How long has this been going on? I asked, my voice calmer than I expected. Lucia swallowed hard. Months. I found messages, photos, even plans to meet in secret. I thought it was something recent, but she stopped as if it hurt to continue. I found out a week ago. Diego does not know that I know. She showed me more. Messages between them, risque conversations, dates planned while I was at work. Every word was a blow, but I did not break down. I had spent the night accepting that my marriage was over. This only confirmed it. Why are you showing me this? I asked, handing her back the phone. Because you deserve to know the truth, said Lucia, looking at me intently. And because I am fed up too. Diego has been lying to me just like Carmen has to you. Something in her tone made me look at her again. It was not just pain, there was determination in her eyes. What are you going to do? I asked. She took a deep breath. End it with him. But first I want them to pay for what they have done to us. The idea sounded tempting, but I stopped myself. Revenge. I did not want to fall into something that would drag me down further. However, Lucia had a plan. It is nothing illegal, she clarified as if reading my mind. I just want them to know what it feels like to be exposed, she explained her idea. She had recorded more evidence, including an audio where Diego admitted that he had been with Carmen for months. She planned to confront him in public at a gathering with mutual friends, and she wanted me to be there. Not to fight, she said, just so they see that we are not the idiots they think we are. I hesitated. A part of me wanted to leave everything behind, but another part, the one that still felt the weight of Carmen's ring in my hand, wanted them to face the consequences. Count me in, I said finally. That same afternoon, Lucia organized a dinner at a restaurant in Chueca. She said it would be something casual, but we all knew it was a trap. She invited Diego, Carmen, and a group of friends who knew our story. When I arrived at the restaurant, my pulse was racing. Lucia was already there, sitting in a corner with a calm that did not fit the storm that was coming. Carmen arrived shortly after, alone, with a forced smile. She did not expect to see me. When our eyes met, her expression changed as if she knew something was not right. Diego arrived minutes later, confident, as always. The table was full of friends, but the air felt charged like before a storm. Lucia waited for the right moment. When everyone was eating, she stood up with her phone in her hand. I want to share something, she said, her voice firm. The table fell silent. Carmen frowned, and Diego stopped smiling. Lucia pressed play on the audio. Diego's voice filled the space, confessing his affair with Carmen, laughing about how they had deceived us. Carmen's face fell. Diego tried to speak, but Lucia cut him off. Do not bother, Diego. There is more. She showed a photo on her phone, one of the many she had found. The murmurs of the friends filled the table. Some looked at Carmen and Diego with contempt, others with surprise. Carmen stood up, stammering excuses. This is not what it looks like, she said, but no one believed her. Diego tried to act offended, but the damage was done. Lucia did not need to scream or insult. The truth spoke for itself. I stood up and looked at Carmen. This ends here, I said, my voice calm but firm. I do not want to see you again. I walked out of the restaurant without looking back, with Lucia by my side. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. As we walked through the streets of Madrid, Lucia looked at me. Are you okay? She asked. I do not know, I admitted. But I will be. She nodded. Me too. The night was not over yet, but something had changed. It was not just the end of my marriage, but the beginning of something new, something I did not expect, but that for the first time I was not afraid to face. We left the restaurant in Chueca with the echo of Carmen and Diego's voices fading behind us. Lucia walked beside me with her shoulders straight, as if a weight had been lifted from them. I felt the same, but also an emptiness that I could not explain. The confrontation had been cathartic, but it did not erase the years of lies. As we walked through the illuminated streets of Madrid, my phone vibrated. A message from Carmen. We need to talk, Miguel, please. I ignored it. There was nothing to say. Lucia broke the silence. There is something else you need to know, she said, stopping under a streetlight. Her voice was serious, but there was something new in her tone, as if she were about to drop a bomb. Do you remember Pablo, your friend? He knew something too. My eyebrows shot up. Pablo, what does he have to do with it? She sighed. I found messages from Diego to Pablo talking about Carmen. Pablo knew they had been seeing each other for months, but he never told you anything. The ground seemed to move under my feet. Pablo, my friend of years, the one who was always there with a beer and advice. He had betrayed me too. I felt a heat rising in my chest, not just from Carmen's betrayal, but from that of someone I trusted blindly. Are you sure? I asked, although I knew Lucia would not say something like that without proof. She nodded and took out her phone again. She showed me a screenshot, messages between Diego and Pablo, where Diego boasted about his encounters with Carmen and Pablo responded with laughter and complicit comments. My jaw clenched. When was this? I asked. A month ago. She replied. Pablo not only knew, he covered it up. I did not think twice. I dialed Pablo's number. He answered on the third ring, his voice carefree. Miguel, my friend, how is it going? I am not your friend. I cut in, my voice sharp. I know what you did. You knew about Carmen and Diego, and you did not tell me anything? Silence. Then a stammer. Hey, it is not what you think. Save your excuses, I said. I do not want to hear from you again. I hung up before he could respond. Lucia looked at me, waiting for my reaction. I am sorry, she said. I know he was your friend. He was not, I replied, more to myself than to her. Every truth that came to light was like a clean cut, painful, but necessary. That night I did not go home. I stayed with Lucia in a nearby bar, talking until the lights of Madrid began to dim. It was not just about Carmen or Diego, but about what came next. What will you do now? She asked me as we had our last coffee. Start from scratch, I said. I have already filed for divorce. I changed the locks. There is no going back. She nodded with a small smile. Me too. Diego is over for me. For the first time, I did not feel alone. Lucia understood what it was like to be betrayed, to rebuild from scratch. But just when I thought the storm had passed, my phone vibrated again. This time an unknown number. I opened it, expecting another message from Carmen. But it was something worse. Miguel, it is Ana, a friend of Carmen. I know what happened, but there is something you need to know. Meet me tomorrow. My pulse quickened. Another surprise. What else could be hidden? I looked at Lucia, who noticed my expression. What is it? She asked. I showed her the message. She frowned. Ana, I know her. She is one of those who is always in Carmen's group. Be careful. I will, I said, although I was not sure what to expect. The next morning I met Ana in a cafe in Seoul. She arrived on time with a nervous expression. Without beating around the bush, she got to the point. Carmen did not tell you everything, she said. She and Diego were not just seeing each other secretly. They were planning something bigger. What do you mean? I asked. My voice tense. Ana looked down. They wanted to disappear together. Carmen was transferring money from your joint account to a secret account. She was going to leave Madrid with you still married. The air escaped me. It was not just an affair, it was a plan to destroy me. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I do not agree with what she did, said Ana. You do not deserve it. I left the cafe with my head spinning. I went straight to my bank. I checked the accounts and there it was. Suspicious movements, transfers to an account I did not recognize. I did not hesitate. I called my lawyer and added a fraud complaint to the divorce papers. Carmen had not only betrayed me, but she had tried to leave me with nothing. That night, while reviewing the legal documents, I felt something new, not just relief, but power. I had lost a lot, but I had also gained something, the truth, and with it the strength to move forward. The discovery of Carmen's transfers left me breathless, but not paralyzed. That same afternoon, after talking to my lawyer, I froze the joint accounts and presented evidence of the suspicious movements. I was not going to let Carmen and Diego get away with it. My lawyer, a straightforward guy from Lavapiés, looked at me firmly. Miguel, this is serious. We can go for fraud and make sure she pays the consequences. I nodded. I did not want blind revenge, just justice. That night, I received a call from Carmen. I did not answer, but she left a voicemail, her tone oscillating between pleading and fury. Miguel, how can you do this to me? You froze the accounts. Let us talk, please. I deleted it without responding. Her words no longer had power over me. The next day, I met Lucia in a park near the Plaza Mayor. I needed to clear my head, and she seemed to understand without me having to explain. I told her what Ana had revealed and the legal actions I was taking. Lucia listened in silence, then said, You did the right thing. Carmen and Diego thought they could play with us, but they were wrong. And you? I asked. What are you going to do about Diego? She smiled, but it was not a kind smile. I am done with him, but he will not get away so easily. I found a contract he signed using my name without permission. I am going to sue him. Her determination was contagious. For the first time, I felt that I was not alone in this battle. Days later, the next surprise came. My lawyer called me. Miguel, we found more. Carmen tried to transfer a larger amount just before you froze the accounts. And there are emails between her and Diego planning to move to Barcelona. My stomach churned. They did not just want to leave me, but to reinvent themselves together as if I had never existed. What do we do? I asked. We press on, he said. With the evidence we have, Carmen has no defense. We can recover what is yours, and make sure she faces charges. That week, the news began to spread among our circle. Mutual friends began to take sides, some surprised, others not so much. One of them, Javier, called me to apologize. I had no idea what was going on, Miguel. If I had known, I would have told you. I believed him. Not everyone was like Pablo. Meanwhile, Carmen kept trying to contact me. Messages, calls, even a visit to my apartment that I ignored. But one afternoon, as I was leaving work, I found her waiting for me on the street. I could not avoid her this time. Miguel, please, she said, approaching. This is all a mistake. We can fix it. Fix it, I repeated, my voice cold. You tried to rob me, Carmen. You planned to leave me with nothing. She turned pale. It was not like that. I cut in. There are no excuses. Sign the divorce papers and face the consequences. I turned around and walked away, her silence following me like a shadow. That night, Lucia and I met for a drink in a quiet bar in La Latina. Over beers, we talked about what would come next. I am going to travel for a while, she said. I need fresh air. To start over. Sounds good, I replied. I want to change too. Maybe I will move to Valencia. I have always wanted to live near the sea. She smiled. It suits you. For the first time in weeks, I laughed for real. The life I had known had collapsed, but in its rubble I was finding something new, clarity, strength, and maybe, just maybe, a new connection with someone who understood what it was like to start from scratch. The days following the encounter with Carmen on the street were a whirlwind. My lawyer was moving forward with the case, and the evidence against Carmen and Diego was piling up. The emails, the bank transfers, and Lucia's recordings were irrefutable. They were not only facing the end of their relationships, but also legal consequences. My goal was not to destroy them, but to make sure they paid for what they tried to do to me. One morning, while reviewing documents in my apartment, I received a notification from the court. Carmen had signed the divorce papers. There were no more messages or pleas. She simply accepted. My lawyer confirmed that the fraudulent transfers would be investigated and the money she tried to divert would be returned to me. It was a relief, but not a victory. The real victory was that for the first time in years, I felt I was in control of my life. Lucia was also moving forward. She told me she had filed her lawsuit against Diego for the unauthorized use of her name. He did not expect it, she said over the phone with a touch of satisfaction. He thought I would stay quiet. Her strength inspired me. We had gone from being victims to taking the reins, each in our own way. A few weeks later, I met Javier in a bar in Retiro. He wanted to apologize again, but he also had news. Carmen left Madrid, he said. No one knows where, but they say Diego is alone now. His friends abandoned him after what came to light. I did not feel joy, just a quiet emptiness. That they faced the consequences was enough. I decided to go ahead with my plan to move to Valencia. I looked for a small apartment near the beach, a place where I could start from scratch. As I was packing, I found a forgotten photo of Carmen and me on a trip to Granada. I looked at it for a moment, but I did not feel pain, only distance. I threw it away without hesitation. Before leaving, I met Lucia one last time in Madrid, on a terrace in Lavapiés. The sun was setting over the city, and, for the first time in months, we talked without mentioning Carmen or Diego. We talked about plans, about trips, about dreams we had put aside. I'm going to Italy for a month, she said, her eyes shining. Then, who knows? And you, Valencia? I replied. I want to hear the sea every day. She smiled. I envy you. It sounds perfect. As we chatted, I realized that something had changed between us. It was not just mutual support. There was a real connection, something neither of us expected. You know, said Lucia, leaning towards me. If you are ever in Italy, let me know, okay? And you, if you pass through Valencia, you know where to find me. When we said goodbye, it was not a final farewell. We hugged, and for an instant, I felt that the future was not just a blank page, but one with possibilities. A month later, I was settled in Valencia. The sound of the waves from my window was exactly what I needed. I started working on a new project, going out with old friends, and meeting new people. Every day was a step further from the past. One afternoon, while walking on the beach, I received a message from Lucia, a photo of her in Rome, smiling in front of the Colosseum. Your turn to send me one from the Mediterranean, she wrote. I smiled and took a photo of the sea at sunset, sending it to her with a message. Whenever you want, you have a place here. The pain of Carmen's betrayal did not disappear completely, but it faded with each day that I lived for myself. The night I thought was the end, when Carmen left home to go to Diego's party, turned out to be the beginning of something better. I lost a marriage, but I gained the truth, freedom, and perhaps a new story with someone who was worth it.